Hi there, it's Anna Marika Gerritsen, but call me AMG. And in this episode 16 of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV, I'm going to debunk a very common myth that actually underpins a lot of the reasoning behind medical treatment of endometriosis. And that is that menopause will fix it. So there is this assumption. So this is the danger of assuming that endometriosis is a hormonal disease, because menopause, when you reach menopause, and for some women that starts in their mid-40s, most late 40s, early 50s, and can sort of the transition can last up until their late 50s, early 60s, your hormonal balance changes, right? So you stop producing eggs, and that means that certain hormones are not produced in as much quantities, and your estrogen production mostly goes down. And if you assume that endometriosis is a hormonal disease, one of estrogen progesterone balance, and if you have more estrogen, then there is more stuff happening with your endometrial tissue, then yes, you assume that if we hit menopause and as estrogen goes down, we should feel better. But that's not necessarily the case. There are quite a few women who hang out for menopause, or who decide to have a full hysterectomy, which would cause like early menopause, who still end up with endometriosis. So why is that? If that's the case, what's going on? It also is if you've been put on the pill, or you've had a Mirena inserted, then that also works on the assumption that you need to stop ovulation, because ovulation then creates estrogen rising, and that will then worsen your endometriosis. Now, I've had many clients who say, first of all, if they had a Mirena, a lot of them don't react very well to it, find it very uncomfortable, but also that it didn't really reduce much of the symptoms. Being on the pill doesn't seem to be doing that much either. So why is that? Why is this a myth? Why should we not focus on or assume or take menopause will fix it as our guiding principle when we treat endometriosis? Because endometriosis is not a hormonal disease. It is a disease of chronic inflammation. And hormones certainly play a role. For example, so when you have endometriosis tissue outside your uterus, you have it on your bowel or on your stomach or on your bladder or wherever. So after you ovulate, estrogen levels go up. And when you have your period, that tissue responds to the hormones in your body the same way that your endometrial tissue in your uterus responds to hormones. So yes, hormones play a role in the sense that they trigger the shedding of the tissue, the bleeding, the growth of the tissue leading up to your period. So yes, hormones are important, but they don't explain, or they don't make the endometrial tissue adhere to all these organs, spread, and none of that can be explained by hormones. So if you have inflammation and you have endometrial tissue growing outside your uterus, then being put on medication that balances, that stops the estrogen production, potentially makes the period less bad, because less estrogen means less bleeding, less shedding, or shedding is still happening, but less bleeding potentially. but it doesn't remove endometrial tissue, and it doesn't stop it growing and progressing because you still have chronic inflammation. So if you've been sitting there thinking, I just have to hang out to bring on menopause, it's not going to be the end. It also is explained why some women who have a full hysterectomy or partial hysterectomy don't see any improvement, or not enough improvement to go, was that worth it? Without addressing the underlying chronic inflammation, all those actions, all those treatments will not lead to a real big improvement. So that's why that is a myth. Menopause will not fix it necessarily. Besides, do you really want to wait? If you're in your late 20s, you will have at least 20 years to go until, menopause. If you are an early, if your menopause starts early, mine did start late 40s. Some women don't start until their early 50s. So do you really want to wait that long and not do anything else to try and improve your endometriosis? So really, focus should be on reducing your chronic inflammation, because that's the best way to stop the endometrial tissue being able to find places in your body where it can settle, where it can adhere, and therefore grow. So that's an important myth to understand, that it's not true, and it just doesn't compute, if you like. And I can tell you from personal experience, menopause certainly doesn't fix any gut issues. It only makes it worse. Even somebody like me who has fantastic eating habits most of the time, when I hit menopause, I got a variety of lovely gut issues that I hadn't had for a very long time. So there you go. Menopause doesn't fix it, because it is not endometriosis is not a hormonal disease. That's for today. I will see you next week. Until then, have a great day, and bye for now.